So the difference, the opposite between photography as meditation, I'm going to go involve myself with photography as protest. Today, which I'm recording this on the 5th of April, 2025, there are all kinds of protests going on all over America called Hands Off. And it's a protest against Elon Musk and his pet president, showing my political opinion here, taking control of the government, and people want to come and protest hands off. So I am going to capture protest photography. And I have not done that before. We've seen people out with their signs up and all that sort of thing. We've seen that on the internet as well. I don't know what I need to know, so I'm going to do a little research. So like I said, there are these kinds of events all over the place. This one's Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I've shot tons in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, so that's probably where I'm going to go because I know the territory. Okay, for continuity's sake, I did my research and I looked up some stuff. I had a few thoughts and questions about protests and I looked them up. I wasn't going to have watching me read, that'd be weird. But that's okay. All I wanted to know is, the thing I'm concerned about is pictures of people at protests. I don't want them to be used as evidence at some point, right? I mean, look what happened on the other side with January 6th, which was not a protest, but they used a lot of media from that to be able to identify people that they felt were doing something criminal. And I definitely don't want any of my work to ever be part of that. And then that's weird because I was thinking I was going to get all these kind of pictures of people's backs and a lot of pictures of signs. And people said, it's fine to show pictures of signs. That's great. But what you're trying to kind of cover are the moments of action, or sometimes they were calling them hero shots, which is like when something kind of stands out from the rest of the information. Now, what this could be, by the way, this could just be a bunch of people standing on various parts of roads with their signs up, hoping that horns honk for them. And that's different than what I think I'm going to, but maybe that's what I'm going to walk into. So who really knows? I want to pivot though, because the politics of it aren't the thing I'm most interested in this video. You know what I mean? Politics are important to all of us, but this place is for us to kind of get away from that. But I definitely wanted to give you this thought because I would imagine the kind of people who care about meditating are the people who care about what's going on, and they might want some information about this. So I thought I'd pivot a little to talk about gear. And I hope you don't find that it's like, stinky. Like, I hope you're not like, oh, I wanted to hear your political intent. I'm not going to tell you that. It doesn't matter to us. So gear-wise, I've got my Sony a7 IV. It's going to be pretty much the only camera I use for a while until someday the Leica fairy visits me. Call me. But this is the Sony a7 IV. Now, what's on this right now is just a fixed lens, a 40mm Viltrox modern lens with autofocus. And I was thinking I was going to use this because it's a pretty capable lens. And then I second-guessed myself, and I'll tell you why. This lens, now obviously the difference is it's a lot bigger than this 40mm baby. I mean, look, it's like double the size, if not more. This lens is a 28 to 70 millimeter lens. Now, if you don't know a whole lot about lenses, what that means is at the 28 side, at this side, what that does is that covers like wide shots. That covers, big crowd shot, 28. 35 is sort of in the same realm as that. If you're at 35, you're doing that. When you get to 50, now we're talking a little more like one person kind of shot or a portrait shot. 75 is for sure a one person shot, or, you're trying to get just at least a little bit of zoom. So 28 to 70 in one lens, as opposed to a 40, which would be right there. 28 to 70 means I don't have to walk every single place I want to catch a shot. I can choose through the lens where to go. This is an all-around, all-encompassing shot. This is what journalists use. They do an equivalent of like 24 to 70 or 28 to 75. They do this lens because they can catch most of the action that they want, photojournalists, with this. Again, a modern lens. I'm not going to use vintage lenses for this, and I'm not going to use manual lenses for this because look at all the dials and stuff. If I have to focus and think when I'm doing this for meditation purposes, it's different. But in this case, using this bad boy, I need to think beyond my lens. I need to think, what kind of story am I telling? How do I get the crowd? And what that means is not focus on me, not focus on my gear, but focus on the environment that I'm in. Does that make sense? So that's gear. I've covered gear, but there's more to it. What else do you have to bring? I'm dressed neutral. This is gray. I have khaki pants on, very neutral. I'll have a gray jacket over it. I'm trying to not stand out in the crowd because I'm capturing the crowd. I don't want them to be focused on looking at me. I want them to be focused on the work that they're doing. So I think gray or neutral colors is a good way to do it. I'm going to wear very comfortable shoes because I'm going to be walking around a lot, and I don't need anything distracting me. Again, the meditation part of this, getting beyond me and my body and myself and my needs. Instead, I'm going to be focused on the people that I'm trying to cover and the information that I'm trying to give them and or get of them out to other people. That's what I'm covering. So the lens and the gear is all handled, the clothing is handled, comfortable shoes are handled. I have mapped the areas. Now again, in Portsmouth, I have shot that area a ton. In Amesbury, I know that area super well. In Salem, Mass, I don't really know that area super well, but I've been to Salem, Mass a whole bunch of times as well. So I'm leaning towards Portsmouth, as you can tell. So I think that the opportunity to get this all covered, I think I've got the me part of it covered. Now let's talk just for a tiny bit about what I hope to come up the other side with, and then I'll show you what I came out the other side. What I intend to capture is, like I said in my setup and research stage, which is sort of hero shots. I want to see energy, emotion, gestures, stuff that really punctuates what the signs are saying. I want people to feel the energy of that experience. I want people who maybe couldn't go there themselves to feel something and feel like they were supported by these people that were there protesting and representing. And I guess beyond that, I'm going to look for people the way I do when I do street photography, just kind of people who stand out and interesting people. It's a little different than street photography because then I'm just doing just for art. I just want somebody that looks interesting. In this case, I want someone that's adding to that story. And that's another thought about the photography I'm going to do is the reason I'm taking the 28 to 75 is that a wide shot is an establishing shot. When you watch a movie, it'll be like Washington, D.C., and they'll show that. And then they'll show a couple people talking, and that'll be kind of a medium shot. And then they'll be like close up like this on me, and then it'll be a close shot and a close up. And so I want to do a mix of the both. So it'll be like place where people are protesting. And then, hey, oh no, we won't go. Oh no, we won't go. And then it'll be like, do you think this is a reasonable thing? And I'll say, I don't think this is a reason. See, so wide, middle, close up. Thank you for that dramatization, Kermit. That's what I got. So why don't I show you some pictures? We'll come back and you tell me what you think of it. All right, so I'm back from the rally, the protest, hands-off protest. Went to two different ones, and I took my co-host of the show Play for Time, Carrie Gargone, with me, and she shot some B-roll to go with this. So I'm going to show you what it was like there, and then we can look at some of the pictures. So I realized almost immediately that if I stood in the back of this protest, I was going to get the backs of a lot of people. So see a couple of shots like that. But then I started walking into the crowd, and I'm huge. I'm 6'2". I am wide. I'm big. I'm huge. I'm a massive person. And as I'm walking through, I'm just gently like, oh, excuse me. People were getting out of my way in every direction. People were making room. People were like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I kept saying, no, we're all here together. And as I got into the crowd, of course, I got better shots. You could see that, suddenly I'm facing where all the signs are so that I could capture the signs, so I could capture the energy and try to do some, justice to what's going on in these shots. And there were lots of points of view there. One thing I liked about this protest was it wasn't just one mindset there. Some people were worried about Social Security. Some people were worried about just the general sense of things. People were more upset about the financial side of things, etc. And lots of different points of view. There were lots of people in the crowd also making their own documents. There were people shooting their own cameras and catching footage that they wanted to bring home. It was very interesting. A strange, wonderful mix too of older people and younger people. It was beautiful. I mean, I think it's one thing we have in this country is if we don't agree that we can still have peaceful protests. The police were so kind and nice and making sure everyone was safe. And whether or not they agree or don't agree with something that's being protested, they were there for sure to make sure everyone was going to be safe and that it was going to be, honoring the process. There were lots of funny ones to look at. It was an interesting experience. I've never been part of it. There were some songs sung. There were all kinds of pieces of action to it. There was even a funny, look at this Linux one. This is pretty funny. It means remove recursively and not paying any, don't worry about if there's nothing in the folder, but remove everything, Elon. It's a Linux joke. And then we were out, done. We handled it. Lots of interesting back and forth, lots of people to see, things to catch, and it was good. I found that I was conscious of people. If I saw somebody, if I'm looking through the lens and someone looks nervous that I'm pointing a camera in their direction, I wasn't going to take a shot. Now there's crowds, so I sometimes can't tell you if somebody's not happy or not. But I can tell you that in general, if people didn't want their identity exposed, they wore their mask, or they would hold their sign in such a way that they, I wasn't going to capture their face. I honored that. I tried really hard to be very attentive to this because it could be that this is sometimes used as a document against people, like I mentioned earlier, and I obviously wouldn't want to be part of that. So whether or not you are behind the politics that were expressed here, what was of note to me and the reason I went and what I wanted to capture was a moment. And I was at Salem, Massachusetts. I went to Beverly, Massachusetts briefly at the beginning as well. And when I got home, I checked and also saw the Boston version of this protest. It's been all over, but I saw the Boston version as well, which was massively attended. But there were still a few hundred at Salem. I felt like I was here on a day in history. And again, whether or not it's your politics, what it definitely was a moment in time where people in the US wanted to be counted and wanted their voice heard. So there you go. Back to regular old photography when, we pick this up again. You know what to do. You can reach me, chris@chrisbrogan.com. Subscribe, of course. But the equipment I brought was great. The experience was fun. Seeing all these people with so much energy and passion for what they believed was good. It was a good day. Be good to yourself. I'll see you the next time we talk, okay?